Hello and welcome to Gunners Daily YouTube channel. Today we have some big news to cover. First, Mikel Arteta's press conference ahead of our game against Burnley tomorrow at Emirates Stadium, and Douglas Luiz possibly joining Arsenal in January. So without any further ado, let's get started. What are the latest news, who's injured, and what can we expect from our game versus Burnley tomorrow? Let's get into it. Let's take a look at the press conference first. So, on the latest team news, Mikel Arteta said, "You mentioned we have a few. A few are still in contention. We need to give them 24 hours more to give them a chance to be involved in the game, but we won't know anything until tomorrow." Okay, so nothing new. On if anyone is definitely not available, Mikel Arteta said Timber is for sure not, Thomas Partey is for sure out, and probably Emil Smith-Rowe is out. There might be a few more. On Bukayo Saka being called up for England and if he will be brought back like last time, Arteta said, "Hopefully not. We want our players to play for their club and play for their national teams." Bukayo had to leave the pitch because he was in quite a lot of pain. He trained yesterday and let's see if he can make it tomorrow. Look, no offense to Burnley, but I think this is a perfect opportunity for Bukayo Saka to rest. Get him on the bench and give Reiss Nelson a chance in the starting 11. I'm sorry for Reiss Nelson because it seems like he never gets the chance to play in the first 11. I don't want us to push Bukayo Saka into another injury, and especially if he decides to go with England. Next question. On Eddie Nketiah not being selected for England this time, Mikel Arteta said, "Well, I don't know the real reason. That's a question for Gareth Southgate. I know how important for him it is to be in the national team and how much he enjoys being there in the last few experiences. That's a decision that's not in my hands." Listen, if Eddie Nketiah didn't get injured these last few days, I think Southgate would probably call him up. But I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. But just imagine if Eddie Nketiah gets injured on international duty. What are our attacking options? On Thomas Partey's procedure impacting the amount of time he's out, Arteta said no, hopefully not. He's progressing really well, but it was a significant injury. Hopefully it's going to be weeks and not months, and he's working towards that. He needs support, and hopefully the injury will heal in the right way and we'll have him back, because he's a big player for us. True, I still think Thomas Partey and Declan Rice are by far our best midfield duo. And it's a shame that we are going to enter into December and we haven't seen them play basically for this whole season together. So yeah, on if he will be back for the African Cup of Nations, Arteta said, that's part number 2. Let's get him quick and healthy as quick as possible and playing a big part in the team, which I think that he can do. On Aaron Ramsdale and if he will be selected for the Euros, Arteta said, I haven't spoken to him about that topic, no. Odd question if you ask me. On the independent key match incidents panel deciding that the Newcastle goal was a valid one, Arteta said, I think we had a lot of reactions after that match. It's time to move forward, to focus on Burnley and talk about tomorrow's game. I swear I'm tired of talking about Newcastle and that game, about the VAR, about the referees. Let's just get over it. It is what it is. We lost. Let's just push forward for the next game against Burnley and stop talking about Newcastle. Newcastle, you're a disgrace. On if he would like to know who is on the panel, Arteta said, I think at some point we will know. On Vincent Kompany and how he's doing at Burnley, Arteta said, I'm not surprised at all. I think he was already a coach when he played. He was a leader, someone very intelligent that could navigate very different scenarios really well. In the dressing room and above, he understood the game really well. He spoke several languages and you could tell straight away that he was going to be a top coach. Okay. On similarities in style of football between the two managers, Arteta said, I think we have a lot of similarities in what we want to happen in games. I think the approach and the way we do it is probably different. Hopefully it is different, but I really like what he's done. Okay. On beating Sevilla and almost securing qualification to the Champions League knockout stages, Arteta said, I was very pleased with the performance, the way we won the game, and how much we restricted the opponent to have a chance to get anything from the game. But there is still a lot to play for. The group is really tight, and we still have to do a lot more to be where we want to be. on if there is an unwarranted pressure on Kai Havertz. Arteta said, I don't know, I can tell you that I'm really pleased with the way he's performing. Obviously, looking at the numbers, just specifically the numbers of what he's producing in front of goal, those have to be improved and we have to improve them. But in many other areas of the pitch, what he gives to the team at the moment is really important. Okay. On whether Pep Guardiola will influence a pool of managers like Sir Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger did, Arteta said for sure, and there will be many, many more to come, and in different countries. This saga is going to be even bigger because he has this quality, this capacity to inject his passion and another way to look at the game. It's very contagious and very powerful. Okay, here's an interesting one. On Aaron Ramsdale, attracting interest from clubs in the January window. Arteta said, I have no messages from other clubs. I can talk about my players, how much I like my players, how much I like Aaron. We want Aaron with us, that's for sure. Okay. On Martin Odegaard and if he has been able to train. Arteta said he's still racing against the clock. He's trying everything that he can, so let's see, it's a possibility. I also don't know if I would want to push Martin Odegaard to play against Burnley. I think we have some solid options on the bench that can cover up for him, but let's wait for tomorrow. And finally, the last question on having so many injuries at once and the depth we have in the squad, if we need more depth in January. Arteta said, some of the injuries we had were bad luck. Some have been long-term injuries with some special players when we didn't have a lot of depth. So we can talk about the depth, but sometimes you have to talk about specific positions. For certain units, we are a little bit shorter, but it's the challenge of the season. Other people have to step up, and that is a good test for the team as well. How we take those moments and how we respond to that. And so far, the team is doing well. So basically, a lot of nothing. And that is basically it for the press conference. Nothing new. We don't know, is Saka going to be healthy, if he is going to get cleared to play tomorrow. We don't know. We don't have any new information on potential incomings, outgoings, or anything. So yes, I guess we can just get onto the second and main topic of today's video. Let's talk about the big news that came out today, and that is that Arsenal are interested in signing Aston Villa's Douglas Luiz this January transfer window. So, first things first, Douglas Luiz is 25 years old. He joined Aston Villa from Manchester City in 2019 for a fee around £14 million. And since then, he basically became Villa's main powerhouse in midfield. Even as someone who occasionally catches Villa on TV, you could have seen him getting better and better every season at Villa Park. And well, since the beginning of this season, he's arguably been their best player so far under Unai Emery. Interestingly, I couldn't find the information about how much money would Aston Villa want for him if someone comes knocking on their door. There's just no info about that at the moment, so I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is that according to the transfer market, he is currently valued at around £50 million. His contract with Aston Villa is valid until summer 2026, so there's no pressure for Villa to sell him right now if they don't receive a satisfying offer. But according to Fabrizio Romano, Luiz could be set for a move away from Aston Villa as early as this January. And Arsenal and Mikel Arteta have reportedly already entered the race to sign Luiz in the January transfer window, making him their first choice midfield target. Look, with Jorginho's future at Arsenal still unknown, and Thomas Partey earning a new injury that will reportedly keep him out until the end of the year, it is clear that Arsenal need to act quick in January to try and sign some midfield reinforcements. Luiz has been a key part of Villa's side so far this season, starting 11 Premier League games and scoring 5 goals. So, I'm going to be honest. You know what's bothering me throughout this whole story? Aston Villa are currently 2 points behind Arsenal in 5th place. They are having their best start to the season in a decade or more, if I'm not wrong. So the real question is, with Douglas Luiz having a long-term contract with the club, I don't see why would Unai Emery let one of his main players leave in the middle of the season that they're having. It just doesn't make much sense, right? So the only reason I could think of that would make sense for this deal to happen is if the player himself, Douglas Luiz, wants to leave the club this January. Maybe he thinks it's the right time to make that next step. Arsenal are competitive on all fronts currently, and he would probably get straight into the squad if he joins us. And well, the next question would be, how much money would Aston Villa want if they truly decide to let him go this January? We know his value on transfer market is around £50 million, but let's be realistic. Villa will probably want a lot more than that, in my opinion. If I had to guess, the price would be around 60, 70 million pounds, easy, if not 80. But we all know that Arsenal, or better said, Mikel Arteta, has been interested in Douglas Luiz for a long, long time. We've been reading different reports about him potentially joining Arsenal throughout the years, but it simply never happened. So there's probably some truth in that Arteta still sees him as a perfect fit to fix our current midfield situation. But now, let's see some of your comments and thoughts on this potential deal, and where do you stand on this whole situation. So let's start. Okay. Erda Etmot says, wanted to be kept by City, but had to be let go due to the English requirements in those seasons. Phenomenal player, great from set pieces, and has flair with strength and confidence. He's also young enough to benefit us for a long time. Well said, well said. I also think he's an excellent player. 25 years old is not old. He's young still. He can be good for us for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. If he comes. Next question, next comment. Tasosk says, I've been wanting this guy since the 2022 summer window. He's such a solid player, and with his Prem experience, he will slot in lovely next to Declan Rice. True. Declan Rice with Douglas Luiz would probably be one of the best midfield pairings in the whole Premier League. Lindyland Bango says, yes, this would be a solid move. We need another top midfielder. This will give us options to go far in most competitions. Our second team failed miserably in the English League Cup. True, our second team... Listen, we love to say that our second team is good enough to be competitive and to give our first team players some push, but after that performance against West Ham in the Carabao Cup, I'm not so sure anymore. Megatron Racing says, solid, we wanted him for a while. Daniel Alchin says, a big fat yes for me, I think he's a quality player. Tate Nation says, that's more like it, young hard-working lad who fits the profile of our team perfectly. Travis Andrew says, 100% really instinctive player who can pass and read defensive plays. How much tough is the question? Gisar TPG says he would be of high price. I think Zubimendi is the best option with £60 million release clause, and we should sign a striker. Šeško is the affordable one among our targets. Getting Ivan Toney for £100 million is not practical in my opinion, considering the situations. Well, I mostly agree with that comment. I don't know about Zubimendi. I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't watched... I didn't even watch one compilation about from Zubimendi. How good is he really? Is he better than Douglas Luiz? Write down in the comments because I'm really interested. Love the idea of Zubimendi in theory, but a Rice and Douglas midfield, wow, Jordan Davis says. Daryl Washington said, get him in January, and I know it's a long shot, but Osimhen in January. Yeah, that is not going to happen. Okay, but I like your optimism. Law and Lyrics says, as a Villa fan, I'd accept £60 million plus Emil Smith-Rowe. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think Emil Smith-Rowe will leave the club. I think if he leaves the club this winter, it will probably be only on loan. Mike10 Gaming says, we need a goal scorer, not another midfielder. Jesus and Nketiah just aren't 20 goals a season quality, and that's what we're missing. Look, I agree. I think we need a goal scorer this winter, but we also need another midfielder. Because at the moment, our midfield is looking tragic. It is fucking tragic. If you look at the midfield situation currently, you have El Neni, you have Jorginho, and you have Declan Rice. And that's it basically, yeah? I'm not paying attention to those. Havertz would be good in the pure midfield role. Nah. I don't believe in that. So basically, you are so short in midfield that it's scary if someone else gets injured. X-Darkness says, we need a striker, Osimhen, Šeško, Ferguson, or work some Brazilian links, Botafogos, Mateus, Nascimento looks great for a 19-year-old. Osimhen, we already talked about it. I don't think that's going to happen in January or in the summer, if I'm being honest. Napoli would want close to 200 million euros probably for him. Šeško, okay. I still see a lot of hype around Šeško. And Ferguson from Brighton is a great player in my opinion. Young, great. But I don't know. Brighton will probably want around 150 million pounds, knowing them. So let's just see what happens. Will Stewart says, logical transfer going to cost us though. I agree. Rohan Kemprai says, Douglas Luiz is good, but we want a versatile, big, combative player. Thomas Partey clicked all the boxes, but it's his injuries which have hampered. We should head towards Bundesliga players, I guess. Give me name, Rohan. Give me names. But I agree. If Thomas Partey wasn't so injury prone, he would be the perfect midfielder. I don't think there's a midfielder currently on the market that would do a better job for Arsenal than healthy Thomas Partey. But the problem is, he's never healthy. The guy is simply never healthy. Saifuddin said, no, that's his name. Saifuddin said, is his nick. Saifuddin said, we need a striker, we need goals. X Generation said, Arsenal should get Guirassy from Stuttgart, the player that can finish, and is a massive problem right now. He could be in the Premier League in January. He's not that young, but definitely in his prime, and that's what the Gunners need right now. And you know what? I completely agree with this. I watched Guirassy's goals. Goals he scored for Stuttgart so far this season. I think he's a brilliant player. He's entering into his prime. He's 27 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He's playing some brilliant football. And if I'm not mistaken, his release clause in January is only 15, 16, 17 million pounds, something like that. So I would definitely add Guirassy from Stuttgart to that list of potential incomings. I think it would be a good deal, and he's a player that could come right in and just start in the next game. Bossman Beat says, Kepran Thuram is the way to go. Junadita says, Brazilian player again. Okay. Vorney Audio Record says, why is the future of Jorginho uncertain? Well, because his contract expires in the summer and there were already rumors of him leaving this winter, but let's just wait and see. Roy Tsolochi says, yes, so that Rice can now be our new number 8 so that I can come and play the role of Xhaka because that's our problem now. Okay. BSB Ornin Scampia says, okay, I'm not reading that. Sorry, mate. Was that Italian? Football Fanatic says, no, Camavinga. Okay, let's be honest, we are not going to sign Camavinga. Let's just stop right now. Yankee92 says, Calvin Phillips, in my opinion. Look, I think Calvin Phillips was a great player when he was healthy, when he played regularly for Leeds. But this last year or two, I don't even know how he plays. I don't remember when was the last time I've seen him on the pitch. He will leave Manchester City, that's definitely going to happen. But just a second, how old is Calvin Phillips? 28 years old. Nah, I don't think. Injured Calvin Phillips, I don't think so. You would have to give him a big contract if he comes from Manchester City. Nah, I would cross that option, to be honest. Komban says, better option is West Ham's Lucas Paqueta. Lucas Paqueta is a great player, and that's an interesting question. So tell me, chat, what are your thoughts? Who should we bring? Who would you rather bring? Lucas Paqueta from West Ham or Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa? I know they are not the same position. Paqueta is more offensive player than Douglas Luiz, but still, write down in the comments. Wednesday Systems UK says, we need a striker, not a fifth DM. I don't think it would be our fifth DM, and we need a striker, but we also need a midfield player urgently. And that's mostly it. So tell me, Gunners, what are your thoughts about this whole transfer saga with Douglas Luiz? Would you bring Douglas Luiz to Arsenal in January? Write down in the comments because I'm really interested to hear you out. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one. Peace.